So, like I was saying, one thing that we'll talk about is HIV, and one of the ways, I'm just going to keep on talking. One of the ways that HIV works is that it has specific envelope proteins, right, on the outside, that lipid membrane, that it uses to attach to particular cells, CD4 cells in particular. So a lot of the research is understanding that interaction between the envelope protein and the cell it's infecting and disrupting it. So when we understand those things, we can actually create specific treatments for viruses. And we'll talk about that example more in depth later. But there's a medical need, right? Second thing is that viruses, something that we can learn, is we can understand life's basic processes of transcription, translation, DNA replication, and gene expression. Right. And this kind of goes in tandem with bacteria, right? Bacteria are not viruses, but both viruses and bacteria are simplified systems that we can actually study in depth basic processes like transcription and translation. So I'm going to make a little note here, right, that viruses and bacteria offer simplified systems for study. And that's huge because a lot of our understanding about transcription, translation, replication, gene expression actually come from either viruses or bacteria, or how they interact with each other as well. Okay. And this is Unit 6. So one of the reasons we're starting here is that all four of those things are the core elements of Unit 6. Transcription, translation, replication, and gene expression. Okay. The third thing, this goes more towards why they're useful. Viruses have actually allowed for a lot of biotechnology advances in which we use viral mechanisms for research, medical, agricultural, ecological research. What I mean by that is viruses in particular, if you think about what they do, they insert their genome into a host cell and cause that host cell to make proteins that it needs to replicate, right? And why that's useful, and what we're going to talk about in biotechnology, is actually we can, in a sense, hijack the hijacker, right? Viruses are known as like the hijackers of a cell because they like hijack their mechanisms. But biotechnology is actually looked at, how do we kind of strip a virus of its dangerous elements, but keep its mechanisms, hijack them, so that we can use them for medical purposes, research purposes, and actually agricultural purposes as well. And we're going to get into that towards the end of this unit. And the last piece, which was alluded to in the video, the spillover video, is that this helps our understanding of natural selection due to the evolving of a virus and its different variations. Right, now what's interesting here is that usually natural selection is used in the context of a living organism, right? Viruses, they don't necessarily fit the bill of a living organism, but they actually can be studied in light of natural selection because they mutate. If you remember, one of the things that think about the bat scene, right, where they saw the bat that was spreading, I think it was the Nipah virus. That one of the reasons they were trying to collect samples was to see if the virus had mutated into new form so they can be ahead of the curve for the next outbreak. Right? And this is kind of exactly what we do for flu viruses as well. The flu virus is mutating every single year. That's why there's not one flu shot and you're good for the rest of your life. It's mutating. And as it mutates randomly, it might be able to survive better in a host than another version. So natural selection is a huge area that we can understand based on studying viruses. Okay. All right, are there any questions or lingering thoughts about these four? Even curiosities that come up. So my hope is that this is going to be kind of a framework for this unit. Right? I mentioned point B is like the bulk of Unit 6. Point C is included in there as well. D is going to transition us into our next unit, which is natural selection, and thinking about that on a broader scale. And then A, that's not only what's relevant to what's going on right now, but also the aim of studying viruses, that if this is something that you're really interested in, which often is the case, that this provides an opportunity to look more in depth at an area of biology that honestly is growing rapidly. We're uncovering new viruses and also understanding how they work. So if there are no questions, we'll close up that set of notes there.